yesterday, about an hour after they announced that Octavia is going to be the next update, which for the record is going to be update 20, they also posted this thing about weapon balance pass. The Mitre has having an increase in its dismemberment kills, the speed of projectiles, the charge time is being halved, and the crit chance is going up. It's 5% for a quick shot and 10% for a charged shot. Doesn't really say what it is in here. 10% crit chance, it doesn't have one. So that's kind of an increase, but it is being moved to a mastery rank 6 weapon. So that's kind of nothing but buffs. Again, ignore the actual base stats of these. I haven't touched the Mitre since probably just after it came out. Have I even formatted this thing? I'll be surprised if I haven't. Yeah. Poor weapon. The Harpic is having its recoil reduced on its primary fire. This thing, of course, shooting out a huge harpoon which pulls enemies towards it. The increase of its... Oh, hang on, I've lost it. Crit chance, there it is going to be 20%. It's currently 15%. So this is another weapon that is being buffed. Its alt fire charge has been removed completely, or will be when these come into effect. So when you shoot this, it will instantly shoot its harpoon to pull the enemy towards you, instead of you having to charge it. They are also increasing its range for the alternate fire, the harpoon, from 15 meters to 40. Again, not really seeing the buff come into, the nerf even come into this. They are moving a few things round, and so far, 2 weapons down, it's nothing but buffs. Again, even the Hind is getting a single shot mode. It's a burst fire weapon, so it's being given a single shot fire, which will do more damage. It has increased damage, critical, it just says critical, it doesn't say whether it's status, so... critical status, yeah, that makes sense. Crit chance, or whether it's crit multiplier, it just says critical, so we'd have to assume it's got to be chance, hopefully both. Sadly, it doesn't really say, but the status chance is also going to go up, which is sitting at 10%. That's 3 that have been buffed. For some reason, my serration is completely missing from my Panthera, which is straight up weird, but this is also having changes. The primary fire is being switched to automatic. Fully automatic, and considering this is basically just like the Mitre, it shoots discs out of the end, that is a good thing for it. Its status is being increased to 20% instead of 10. Its crit chance on its primary fire is going to be 10. It doesn't have one, it's empty here, which I've always thought was... I didn't know it was empty, so don't really have an opinion on that. But the multiplier is going to be 2, with a crit chance of 10. The ammo is going to be reduced to 2. Ooh. Where... I'm trying to see, where is the ammo? The magazine is 60. Eh? That's going to be reduced to 2. I'm assuming that this is for the alternate fire mode, because it does say that on its primary fire, which means it does have a secondary fire. The crit chance on the secondary is going to be 25%. The status on its secondary is going to be 35%, so it's actually being given a secondary function to the Panthera. But it doesn't really say what the secondary... This thing doesn't have a normal secondary fire, but it's going to consume 2 rounds for the secondary thing. It's also having its mastery rank moved to 7. This is another weapon, the Parasist, that I haven't used in a long time. The damage of its primary fire is going to be increased by 5, so it's going to have 30 total, at least going from the stats that is there. It's going to have updated effects on its primary fire. It's going to have increased status is going to go to 30, instead of, considering this is listing the primary stats, it's going to be 15. That's really nice. On its primary fire and secondary fire, it'll be increased to 30, so either way it's going to be 30. Its crit chance for its primary fire is going to be 10% instead of 5, and it's going to be a mastery rank 5, as well as having the... No, crit chance is going to be 10, yeah, I said that. But it's going to be a mastery rank 5 for this thing. Weirdly though, the Mutalist Quanta is not as much getting its stats changed as the way that the alternate fire works when it shoots out those cube type things. I think I may be getting confused with one of the other Quanta style weapons with this. I'm not really sure, because I don't tend to use these that often anymore either, because there's just so many other weapons. But it's going to stack just like the Simulor does. So instead of throwing out multiple orbs, you can have one or two, and they're just going to get bigger and do more damage. You can shoot through them for... It adds the elemental effect to the actual rounds. That's always been a thing with it. But this will stack, which means that the Mutalist Quanta here is going to also be more usable. The Buzzlock is a weird one. Its ammo has been reduced to 50 instead of 75. That is kind of a nerf, but this was countered by the fact that its ammo requirement for secondary homing rounds has been reduced to 2 rounds, so you don't really need as much ammo. Not only that, but its physical damage has been increased from the 45 that's here to 60, but they're also going to distribute it differently. It's going to be 50%, so it's going to do 30 impact, then it's going to be 40% puncture and 10% slash. So it's going to do less slash, more puncture, and a little bit less impact than it's doing now, because obviously if it's doing 50% of its 60 total, it's only going to be 30. So it's less impact, but it will be doing more puncture and possibly a little bit less slash than it does now. So it's not really that bad, because its crit chance is being increased to 15% instead of 10. Its crit damage multiplier is being increased from 2 to 2.5, and the flight speed of the homing rounds is being increased. So yes, smaller magazine, but more damage, more crit, less ammo requirements, but it is going to be a mastery rank level 9. Not to mention the fact that when you do fire the secondary rounds, it's going to have an increased crit chance of 50%. So what was the crit chance? 15, so it's going to do an extra 7.5. Well, Warframe math, I've no idea, but it's going to do more than the 15% it does as standard, which is more than the 10% it does now, meaning its secondary fire is going to be heavy on the crit. The Galaxian is having its cold damage increased to 333. Now, looking at the screen for the cold damage that it does as standard, that is a huge increase until you read the next 2 words, which is from 250. Don't know where the 250 is coming from. Maybe that includes the math for the whole status per second that gets the 250. I've no idea. But I wish it did 250 as standard. That would be great. 333, even better. I do have a Riven for this. There is a change kind of to Rivens. More information on that later. The rate of the ammo consuming has been decreased, so 300 magazine is going to last a long time. The accuracy has been increased, but, and I have to admit this is the first time I'm seeing the word reduced, the range has been reduced from 30 meters to 26 meters. I had to sacrifice a build to actually get this to display its standard stats, because it was nearly 10,000 corrosive damage with 4,000 blast damage on it. That hurt so much. The flight speed of the projectiles for this will be increased. The status chance is going to be increased from, what is it now, 10% to 35%. Kind of huge. The charge time is being reduced. This is great because they nerfed the Ogres so badly that after 5-forming this thing, I have never picked it up or used it. It does kill you, but it's just sat there. It's one of those weapons that was put on a shelf and never touched again, because you can carry hardly any ammo for it, and it's just bad to use. So this is great. The direct impact damage of the... Wait, it doesn't do impact, it does elemental. It says right there, blast. Anyway, it's been decreased to 100. Okay, again, doesn't do impact damage. Oh, the impact damage of the projectile. So if you hit somebody with the projectile... Okay, now that makes sense. But its AoE damage has been increased to 600, and its range is being increased to 6 meters. This is huge because this weapon may finally be useful again. I wish they'd increased not the magazine capacity, the amount of ammo you can carry for weapons like this, because carrying 20 rounds for it, you reload 4 times, you're out of ammo, you got to swap to your secondary. But it will, instead of being a mastery rank 6, I do believe this was a 6 because I remember somebody having issues getting it, it's going to be a mastery rank 8, so it's going to be a bit harder to get. Remembering you can't buy this, it's in the clan dojo, the only way to get the Ogres is to build it. The Attica is a weapon that I did like. Its recoil has been reduced, I would count that as an improvement, so that's not a nerf, that's a buff. Its fire rate, oh wow, its fire rate's been increased, the flight speed's been increased. The crit chance has been increased to 25% over the 20 it does now. Its crit multiplier is going to be 2 instead of 1.5 it's there, but its ammo capacity is going to be increased to 20. Okay, it's ammo capacity. You mean its magazine capacity from 16 to 20. Oh no, I just read this and it actually says partway down the page, we have nerfed 3 weapons plus 1 variant. Oh no, and the first one on the list is the Tonko. I would rather see the Ogres nerfed than the Tonko. Oh, that poor thing. It's now going to deal self-damage like other launchers. Wow. Just that one line alone will kill this weapon. That's actually really bad. When it comes to nerfs, they may as well have just deleted it from the game. Its crit chance is going to be reduced to 25%. It's taking 10% crit chance off. The lifespan of the grenade, once it's dropped, is going to be 3 seconds, not 5, so you're not going to get the same distance. Wow. That's actually really bad. But the grenade projectile line is going to be added. I guess that's a good thing, but it's now going to bounce closer to you and explode sooner. And it's going to do self-damage. Okay, I was completely wrong for the first part of this video, and I know it is going to be a bit long, but I didn't know there was this many weapons. Yeah, they've killed the Tonko. It actually doesn't start off too bad for the Simulator. Its status chance has been increased from 10 to 30. Have to think that's a good thing. Then it goes on, the AoE explosion range has been increased. Instead of it being from half a meter to 2.8 meters, it's from 1 meter to 6 meters. Also a good thing. The damage dealt from the explosion will go from 50 to 200 when detonated. Also a good thing. But on the orb stacking event, the damage range will be decreased from 1 to 3, have to assume meters because it's the range. From 3 to 8 even, to 1 to 3. So, wow. That's actually really bad. 3 being the minimum range, 8 being the maximum range, now going to 1 meter as the minimum range and 3 meters the maximum range. That's a huge nerf. The damage from this stacking event has also been decreased from 150 minimum to 250 maximum to 20 minimum and 40 maximum. Okay, how can it detonate from 50 to 200 damage? They've changed it from 50 to 200, so when you explode it, it goes to 200. But then 2 lines later says the orb stacking event has been decreased to 20 to 40 damage. That seems weird. Very weird. But the amount that it takes to get a full stack has also been changed. It used to take 5, it's now going to take 3. This could completely change the way this weapon is used. And it looks like it's pretty similar for the Cyanoid. It's going to have 35% status instead of 30, so it's an extra 25. But you can actually see the stacking thing here doesn't match up with the numbers that they're given. It's been decreased from 150 to 250. I've got 175 to 225 here, which isn't on there at all. That is going to be decreased to 20 to 50. but the detonating damage is going to be 250 instead of the 50 magnetic. I've never really understood the whole Simulor. It's always been a really weird weapon. Fun, but weird. Now, it just seems kind of pointless when it's going to do more damage from firing a single round than it is stacking. I mean, what's the point in stacking if the single round's going to detonate at 250, but a stack's going to detonate at 50? The last one is the Telos Bolt Ace, which is more of a mechanical way, the way it works, than the stats. The stats are going to stay the same, but on your first slide spin attack, it will stagger enemies and then draw them towards you in a vortex. Then your second slide attack, remembering you have to start running before you can initiate another slide attack, so that's weird, it will do radial blast and ragdoll enemies away from you. So you suck them in and then blast them away. That could add a weird aspect to it, so I don't really see how this is a nerf, apart from the fact that it says this back and forth will be on a cooldown, so you just use it and then use it again, and use it again and again and again. The cooldown might not be necessary for this. It is a bit weird, but I do see a lot of people using the Telos Bolt Ace and even going as far as saying the Simulor and the Tonkor. It does seem the most used weapons here are the ones that are being nerfed, and some of the other ones I liked when they first came out. So seeing them increased, I don't really mind, but these nerfs are not going to go down well. They've basically killed the Tonkor off completely. Oh heck, we just went over the 20-minute mark, or very close to it. Yeah, with the change to the Rivens, they just say that it's going to have slight stat change. If I had to take a guess, the weapons that have been nerfed will have Rivens that do a little bit more damage, whereas weapons that are being buffed, I do believe I have one for the Galaxian, I've had it a while, that one, should hopefully have the damage increased or decreased just a little bit, which is kind of sad, but at the same time makes sense because the way Rivens work, they're meant to make less used, less powerful weapons more powerful and up to date, which is why nerfed ones should get an increase to their Rivens and buffed ones should get a decrease. But as well as this, anybody who is, for the nerfed weapons, all four of them, the Telos Bolt Ace, the Simulor, the Cyanide Simulor and the Tonkor, if you have put time and effort into them, it does say you will get a message to your inbox generated when you log in with a single 3-day affinity booster and a former per weapon that has been affected, so you can get at most 4 former back from this. So you can reconfigure the weapons as you see fit. So they do know that these nerfs are going to adjust the way that people have the weapons modded, and people will have to change a polarity or two, so they are kind of accounting for this. The affinity booster will mean they can level them up quicker, and the former means they can fix builds to mod around this, so they're not completely killing the weapons off. Anyway, we'll leave this off here for now. It is going to be a ridiculously long one, so thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.